I might look like a full-grown adult, but I'm actually a child. Let's watch some TV. What the f? You remember being a kid, right? A little chubby-cheeked child? But at one point or another, we were all children. Or you might actually still be a child, in which case, this video isn't meant for you. Go watch some Paw Patrol. Just make sure you like and subscribe before you do. Anyway, I miss being a kid. I guess one morning I just woke up, grey pubes, bad back, and half my income going into my goddamn pensions. But one thing about being a child was, we were easily traumatized. We all have childhood trauma that we carry with us. Things that happened to us as a child that we just can't get over. Now, I didn't have a dodgy uncle that would tickle me under the dinner table, but I did have access to television. And arguably, that was worse. I don't think the younger generation understand how creepy children's TV used to be for us. And I guess that's why I'm making this video. You know, take a little gander with me into Trauma Town. Steven Spielberg? What the fuck were you thinking with this film? E.T. the Extraterrestrial is an old film. It's a classic. Everyone's seen it. I don't know why. I don't remember it being particularly good. Now, I love my mum more than anything. But I don't know what she was thinking when she showed us this film when we were kids. Because E.T. is the creepiest looking thing in the entire world. If you don't know what E.T. is, it's an alien that comes from the sky and a little boy finds him. And then the FBI want to get him and it's a whole thing. It's a pretty sweet film, if only E.T. didn't look like a pile of shit. Doesn't even look like a practical body to have. You're telling me these guys have big spaceships that float around the sky? Who built this? These guys are not mobile, they can barely move. Also, his finger looked a little bit sus. I mean, that thing had some girth to it. Bonnie Blue would go crazy for that. But E.T. wasn't the only thing that traumatized me as a child. No. Now, I actually love SpongeBob. If I'm flicking through the TV channels and I see SpongeBob, I'll watch an episode or two. I'm not above that. However, I don't think it's appropriate for kids. SpongeBob had this weird thing, which I think we all remember. You'd be watching a normal scene and all of a sudden you'd have this grotesque close-up. I don't know why anyone would do this, because it's disgusting, it's disturbing, and quite frankly, it's a waste of time. You're putting in so much effort to make something look so realistic, yet it looks like shit and it's going to traumatize the target audience. What are we playing at here? That's not even the worst thing. So there's an episode of SpongeBob called Graveyard Shift, where SpongeBob and Squidward have to take a graveyard shift. Squidward then proceeds to tell SpongeBob all these horror stories to get him nice and scared, and then at the end we think that the horror stories came true, but they didn't. It was just a friendly fish that wanted a job. And then we see this shit. What the actual fuck? Now, when I rewatched this today in preparation of the video, it's actually kind of funny, but I don't think this is appropriate for a child at all. In fact, I remember watching this shit like 20 years ago, and it scarred me for life. So if you don't know what this is, it's like Nosferatu, some character from a like old film. And I guess it's supposed to be like a funny reference, but who's this reference for? Who's even seen this film? You know in Monsters Inc. where they like scare children to fill up batteries? I feel like the writers of SpongeBob scare children for some fucking reason. I don't know the reason. I wish I did. I wish I could explain my trauma, but I can't. If you've not seen The Neverending Story, I think you should watch it. I think it's a pretty cool film. However, it's not for children. Or should I say it is for children, but it fucking shouldn't be. If you've seen Stranger Things or you've just seen good movies, I'm sure you've watched this film. It's fucking old as shit as well. And it's also been the fuel of many of my nightmares. Now as an adult, I do appreciate the effort that went into making this film. The practical effects, the cinematography, the soundtrack. It's a pretty good movie. However, we have to remember, the target audience of this film were families. Most people would say that the most traumatic part of this film was when Artrex, the horse, drowns in the river of sadness. Pretty sad, yeah. It never really got to me like that, but upon rewatch, I guess it is a sad scene. Also, apparently it took them like 2 weeks to film this scene, and the water was like freezing cold, so you just had the horse go up and down into this freezing cold water. During the end of the film, there's this creepy wolf thing that Atreyu just fucking stabs. We see the blade go in and everything. In a children's film, It's completely appropriate. Also, you have these weird people that just made me feel uneasy. Like I said, practical effects, amazing. Psychological effects, you cursed me. Like halfway through the film, Atreyu goes onto this mountain, then he falls off it, and then, oh, it wasn't a mountain at all. It was a huge fucking turtle. Oh my god. I don't understand why they made this. The dragon, Falkor, he was creepy as shit as well. Maybe it's the fact that he's supposed to be a dragon, but he doesn't have any wings. Maybe it's the fact that he talks to little kitties.
No. I like children.
But there was something wrong with this guy. Kim Possible was my shit. It was my shit. As I was rewatching it for this video, I realized how good of a show this actually was. Also, when I was a kid, I didn't realize that the teacher dude was voiced by Patrick Warburton.
That was amazing.
I know. I was there.
So that's kind of funny. But this isn't a video about how much I loved Kim Possible. No, it's about trauma. And this show traumatized me with its second ever episode. Are we being fucking serious? Now, I actually rewatched this episode today, and it's actually really funny. It's really well written. However, there was this thing that just didn't feel right to me when I was a kid. Essentially, you've got all the cheerleaders driving to some competition when the bus breaks down, and lo and behold, they end up in this creepy place called Camp Wannaweep. Now, Ron remembers this camp from when he was a kid, and the episode keeps cutting back to these like flashbacks. And essentially, Ron didn't want to go swimming in the lake because it was dirty. So this kid, Gil, was like, oh, I'll swim in the lake whilst you do my classes inside. And now there's a monster in the woods and he's terrifying them. He's like kidnapping them as well. You know, it's a bit much, dude. And then we see him. And compared to the Neverending Story, this is pretty tame. However, as a kid, it didn't feel right. Because in fact, this monster was the kid that went like swimming in the lake. And I think when I was a kid, the idea of turning into a monster because I was swimming in a lake too much just creeped me out. I mean, it's not like I fucking swim anyways. I mean, look at me. I don't really have too much to say to this because like I said, it's actually a very good episode, but it just creeped me out. It was just creepy as shit, okay? Smallville is the best show that was ever made. I just want to put that out there. However, this episode in season 1 used to creep the shit out of me. Essentially, it followed Amy Adams' character, who was like fat, I guess. It was like a fat Amy Adams. You know, I would still smash anyways. So she starts drinking these kryptonite smoothies, and she just gets really skinny all of a sudden. However, she's still fat at heart. So she's hungry. One of the worst scenes of the episode was when she like hits a deer with her car, which, you know, I mean, that's kind of sad. But then she goes and she eats the fucking deer. And her mouth like stretches open. Now it kind of looks a bit silly. However, you have to remember, me and my sisters, we were little kids when we watched this shit. During the end of the episode, she just goes crazy. She wants to kill a dude. She's attacking Clark. She's attacking Pete. And I don't know, she was just a creepy girl. I just didn't like it. I don't know. Early Smallville was great, but because I was so young when I watched it, half of the shit just traumatized me. I saved the best for last because if you remember this shit, you were traumatized. Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction is this like weird anthology show where they show you a bunch of stories and then at the end you have to guess if the stories were based on true events or if they were just completely made up.
Ever gone mountain biking?
What do you want to be when you grow up?
What's the right tip? Have you called a plumber to your home lately?
How superstitious are you?
How much money would it take to make you spend a night in a cemetery?
Now realistically, this show deserves its own video because there's so many weird stories in this. However, the one I remember the most from when I was a kid was The Mirror of Truth. This, no joke, I can remember exactly when I watched this. I went to my mum, I said I can't sleep. I don't know what to do. Let me just quickly explain this to you. So essentially, the story is based on a woman called Jocelyn, who's very vain, okay? She thinks she's the prettiest, best looking woman that's ever lived. I mean, she's alright. She's alright. I personally, you know, She goes to get her like makeup done and then she like doesn't like how the makeup looks. So she's like being a massive bitch to the beautician.
I'll tell everyone just how clumsy you are. You'll never have another customer.
And then the beautician just turns around, just straight up curses her.
Curse you with the mirror of your soul.
Following this, things just kind of fall apart. Her fiance leaves her. She looks into the mirror and she's like, oh my god, I'm hideous.
I'm hideous.
And then this doctor comes to like see if he can help her. And he's like, yeah, we can do plastic surgery. So she's got like cream or some shit on her face and they like wipe it off her face. And lo and behold, she looks completely fucking normal. However, she then picks up the mirror and stares into the mirror to see her true self, her inner self. In fact, I'm just going to show you the clip. Imagine being 4 or 5 years old, watching this. And I understand that I wasn't like the target audience for this, but this was running in the middle of the day. You can actually watch this on YouTube, and I will link it in the description. But if you look at the comments, every single person in the comments was completely terrified by this as a kid. It's good to know that I wasn't alone. Anyways, that's everything I got for you today. Let me know if you want me to do another one of these creepy nostalgic look backs. But right now, I'm too traumatized to talk about any more of this. Subscribe, I'll see you next week, guys.